All right, so tonight's segment of climate news, I thought this was interesting. We found you guys a video not too long ago where Sky News in Australia had showed us a little experiment. And if anybody knows anything about the atmosphere, we all know that we see 78% of our atmosphere is nitrogen, 21% is oxygen, and then the 0.04% is CO2. And this TV news anchor was trying to explain to the public that they poured an entire bag of rice into the bowl, and then he grabbed a grain of rice and put it on the desk and said, the bowl represents the atmosphere. The grain of rice represents the 1.3% Australian emissions of the 0.04%. Made sense. He was trying to visually show you what 1.3% of 0.04% looks like. Excellent example. So now, thanks to What's Up With That, we found this article here, thinkprogressive.org, and yeah, everyone who is a global warming proponent is sad today, and here's why. It says, we have lost Australian for now, warns client scientist in wake of election upset. Yeah. Their liberal over there in Australia is a conservative. But here we go. The unexpected victory of conservatives in Australia's election Saturday is bad news for the future of global climate action, warns a climate expert. Polls have suggested that the Labour Party, which supports strong climate action, held a narrow lead in recent days, but in the end, Prime Minister Scott Morrison won re-election, and his Liberal Party, which is actually conservative, swept to victory. Australians elected someone who once brought a lump of coal into Parliament, urging us to dismiss the warnings from climate scientists and to dig up more coal instead. Professor Stephen Lewandowski, an Australian cognitive scientist, told Think Progress in an email there is little doubt that his government will precisely do that. We have lost Australians for now, warned the Penn State climatologist Michael Mann in an email. A coalition of small number of bad actors now threaten survivability of our species. Some deep, intense words from Mr. Mann himself. These include the fossil fuel Murdoch media empire, which saturated the country with dishonest right-wing campaign propaganda, working a few petrostates, including Saudi Arabia, Russia, Trump's America, and now Australia. So this Think Progress sounds a little butthurt that Australia has elected or re-elected Mr. Scott Morrison. Rupert Murdoch's grip on Australian media and his support for climate disinformation around the world led one Australian scientist to write in 2011, the Murdoch media empire has cost humanity perhaps 1 or 2 decades of time in the battle against climate change. When you see quotes like that, that is just a Hail Mary pass to protect the lie of global warming and man's effect on climate change. I don't know how many times I've had to tell people in comment sections that I believe in climate change, but I believe in natural climate change. I believe in the sun that drives the climate. How can 0.04% CO2 be the main driver of the climate? It's a trace gas at best. So to me, it's great to see the fact that Australians are voting to keep a guy like Morrison in office. And I had a lot of messages from folks from Australia this year, how they were worried about their party losing the election to the opposition, who wanted to basically bring in the same kind of policies that AOC is trying to promote here in the United States. So we're starting to see a trend now. If you think that the people in the United States, now it'll be really big too if we re-elect Trump after we've seen his stance on EPA and regulations and coal and natural gas, and he's a big proponent of those two. So it'll be interesting to see that if Trump survives a re-election, now we've had 2 country leaders who have been re-elected after their first terms have been exposed with their desire to continue with coal and natural gas, that they continue to ignore these extreme alarmists that talk about man-made climate change. All right. And then you'll start to see other powerhouse countries follow suit. And then what? The public is voting these people in, folks. The global warming jig is up. Let's face it. And now you got to have these butthurt Australian liberal, well, I shouldn't say liberal. Liberal's conservative in Australia, but you got some butthurt authors here who are upset about this guy being reelected because he's not doing enough to make you poor. He's not, skyrocketing your electricity bill because he's not installing all these damn wind turbines and solar fields. He's not dumb, and neither are his supporters. They talk about in this article too how Australia just had one of its hottest summers on record. Well, let's hold the phones here, folks. We've been talking about Australia on this channel and how cold it is already up there, or down there, I should say. In fact, they've gotten temperatures that were, 2 months earlier as far as when it comes to when they should have their cold temperatures. They were getting their midwinter temperatures in the very middle part of autumn. So we will continue to watch, but it's funny, they don't want to talk about how cold it is already in Australia and how we've already seen record snow in certain places. They don't want to talk about that part. They just keep talking about the propaganda, just like the propaganda that's been on NOAA with their latest warmth map, telling the world that we are at 0.93 degrees Celsius above baseline. And that when you look at this map, it's almost every section of this map. It's actually kind of disgusting. Every section of this map is a complete, absolute lie. And when you look at the temperature map, and here, I'll go ahead and bring this up while I'm talking about climate news, because it's propaganda like this Australian website where these folks are trying to be convinced that this conservative party is crazy for having these views on climate change. They're crazy for not thinking that man has something to do with what's happening right now. And I found the map. Wait till you see this, guys. You're going to love this. I posted this on our Facebook page the other day. And let's see here. Do a little ditty here. That's not what I wanted to do, but hey, we'll get through it. So NOAA posted this, and actually Severe Weather Europe on Facebook posted this, and I got a little bit of flack for my comments because I pretty much said this was inaccurate. But let's check this out real quick, guys. And I asked the question, where is NOAA getting their info? The Steele dossier. But I know a lot of you look at this map for April. Now, yes, we did go up 0.10 degrees Celsius above baseline for the month of April. So we did have a slight warming. Slight. But what I find hilarious is these areas that are in white. And I'm talking about right here in the United States. This area right here. No one knows damn well that should be shaded blue. We for the snow that we had up here in the plains, the northern plains, South Dakota, the flooding that we're getting from it now. This boggles me right here too. This arrow is indicating that there is pink in the Northeast in the upstate New York. Much warmer than average temperatures warmer than average. It says April was warmer than average. I can tell you folks, that's a lie. Temperatures here in upstate New York were stuck around in 30s, 40s. A couple days we were in the 50s. A rare 60-degree day happened maybe 3 times. And I know other folks who were commenting in the comment section on Severe Weather Europe was also complaining from all over the world, not just the United States, Spain, Europe. Italy, Australia. Everyone's complaining. This map is full of shite. So, again, congratulations, Australia. You guys are seeing the truth. And you guys have a news media like Sky News that is not afraid to talk about man's effect on climate change. If we could only get our media to get actually, we got Fox News that kind of dances around the idea that they just don't like the Democrats, so they'll talk smack about the Democrats when they're talking about climate change. So that's the only time we really get Fox News' support, is when some ridiculous Democratic party member proposes a ridiculous climate bill. And the real reason why these people in these news medias that attack these Democrats is because they're Democrats, not because that the information and the science that these lawmakers are using, it's false, it's misinterpreted, and it's fooling the public. And they talk about this guy here in Australia, Scott Morrison, who is deceiving the public, but it's the actual opposite. Look, the people voted him. Just like here in the U.S., people voted Trump. And like I said, it's going to be interesting to see if Trump wins re-election after everybody knows his stance on climate change. And he's come out and said, nobody knows. I mean, really, who knows? To me, for him to kind of come out and say, who really knows? How do you know that man causes climate change? That tells me that he is a skeptic and that he doesn't believe that CO2 or coal or natural gas has an effect on climate change. It's almost like he's surrounded by people who understand differently, and the new science, the new research that we've seen over the past 15 to 20 years is making, like, again, we've heard about this before, guys, in the 70s. We had that mini ice age scare, global cooling and all that. And then the politicians got smart and said, hey, we can make some money on a carbon tax. We can get these folks convinced it's a greenhouse effect. In 1989, global warming was born. And then Al Gore came along and adopted it and, put him in the best school and gave him all the best clothes and the best house to live in. And global warming got really big and strong. But here lately, global warming is being exposed. And when you see re-elections of people like this, Morrison winning, and if Trump wins in 2020, there might be other countries. Look, France, they started their riots, and no one's talking about that right now anymore, which is upsetting. But they started their riots based on a carbon tax. That got thrown out. But citizens of France are like, hey, while we're at it, let's get some other things fixed too. Don't blame me, France. But yeah, so there is starting to become a new trend. More countries are wanting to disconnect from the Paris Climate Treaty. India is the latest country that wants out. Iranians, they wanted out, but they just wanted out because they hadn't got paid yet. So they're jumping out for the wrong reasons. But there's other countries that are saying, wait a minute. They're starting to see what President Trump was saying and why he pulled out, where the bill is going to be put on all these rich countries who don't put as much emissions into the atmosphere like the Russias and the Chinas and other rich countries that could foot part of the bill and not just blame it all on the United States and let them pay for it, basically. So, all right, guys, stick around. We'll be right back.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.